Hey, my lovely goal-getters. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I'm your host, Amie Pederson, business mentor and confidence coach for the emerging boss mom. It's my mission to help amazing women just like you up-level yourself and your business because you are meant for more than wiping boogers and folding laundry. I'm also a wife, mother, urban farmer, influencer, green juice enthusiast, and an unapologetic lover of cowboy boots. I can't wait to help you grow your business by sharing my tips, tricks, proven business strategy, experience, and incredible guests. Hang on tight and enjoy the show. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends and educational partners over at the Tailwind app. Tailwind has taken my social media scheduling from being in a total tailspin to well-planned, well-sourced, well-thought, and well-automated in posting. So what Tailwind is it helps you schedule out your posts for both Instagram and Pinterest. And even when you're in Pinterest, you can plug those pins right over onto Facebook. The other great thing is they have little communities and groups within Tailwind, so you can network with other amazing people in your niche and help you expand and grow in that way. They also have this really cool thing where they give you suggestions on hashtags. So this is not only like a huge time saver, but they also tell you like this hashtag is good, this hashtag is mediocre, and this hashtag is awesome, kind of like low, medium, high, cold, warm, hot type of thing. And this is so helpful, especially when you're just getting started and you're not really sure what hashtags you should use or could use. It gives you some suggestions. Of course, you don't have to use those, but it's kind of nice to have the little tips and pointers. So basically what you can do is you can plan out all of your stuff in advance. And they also have this thing called Smart Loop. So say if you post something for the holidays and you're posting something every year at Christmas or every year at Thanksgiving, a lot of girls I know did a 12 days of fitness. Or a 12 days of Christmas type of giveaway or course or training. That's something you could put onto a loop. So every year at Christmas time, you can automatically repin those posts and reshare that content without having to think about it. So the cool thing about Tailwind is, again, so super affordable, so super, super, super useful. Like it's been such an amazing resource for our team and for our company and for growing our Instagram and our Pinterest. We now have over 250,000 views on Pinterest just since we started using Tailwind, and it's been amazing. So Tailwind has agreed to give all of our listeners a free month just to give it a try. No credit card, no anything. And you can do that by going to tailwindapp.com/I/busyfitmomamie. And of course, that link will be right in the show notes for you to take advantage of a free full month. So I hope you guys enjoy using this app and really, really enjoy how easy it makes everything and how seamlessly you can integrate it into your business as a huge time saver. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I'm your host, Amie Pederson, business mentor and confidence coach for the new and emerging female entrepreneur. Today, we have the amazing Jen Harrison with us. She is a parenting coach. And some of you guys might be thinking, what the heck does that have to do with women in business? Let me just tell you, it has everything to do with women in business, with women in jobs, with women who just stay at home. And it's not something that most people go into parenthood thinking that they might need. But let me just tell you, after having spoken with Jen and getting to know her over this last year, her advice is legit. She's got so many good ideas. And I just wanted to bring her on here because I know that it can be, and I know this firsthand, it can be quite the juggling act to raise babies and a business all at the same time. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jen. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you into this path and this journey.
Sure. Hey, Amie, it's good to be here. Wow, like when you ask me a question like that, it's so looking back, like I feel like, like 10 to 15 years ago seems a long time ago. But I feel like when I first came into this line of work, it was based on my own childhood experiences. So by no means was my childhood like unloving or, different to like the average childhood. It's just that I just feel like I was supposed to have the experiences that I had through my childhood. I really just now believe that it was just my life path and that I'm supposed to do this kind of work. So I'm highly sensitive, which means that like I came to learn in my 20s that that meant that my energy would get super drained if I was like around, the wrong kind of people, if I was not listening to like my heart and soul, if I was trying to be somebody else, if I was trying to please other people. Throughout my adult life, I got really sick with chronic fatigue about, I want to say 3 times. So I feel like I had many like wake up calls where it was like something's got to change. So I definitely didn't come into this this field of work from a place of, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a parenting coach. Like that was just never like there. I've spent my whole life working with children in so many different fields, like nanny, teaching with children with extra needs. So I've worked in schools, I've worked in nurseries, I've worked with children in all capacities. But I feel like it's more than that. My work isn't like, oh, let me just pass you on a few tips. It's more like I want you as a woman to stop feeling like everybody outside of you has got the answer. And this stems from, so what I'm talking about here is like self-empowerment and like how do we become super empowered? Like how do we gather knowledge? How do we take responsibility for our own life? And then how do we make changes within our life? And that just happens to come into the context of with our children as well. So I feel like I came into this work from many different angles. Like some of it was partly because I grew up feeling very misunderstood by the adults around me. And I saw how that impacted my teens and my adulthood. Before I went down a path of, personal development myself, I could see that I was very lost, very drained. I'm probably now looking back, say I'm pretty depressed, very anxious. And so I like look at these children now and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if you don't get this information now as to how to help your kids with this, whatever's going on with them, that child's going to then grow up into an adult who carries those feelings with them. So I feel like I've got the bigger perspective. Like I can see what your child's going to be like in 15 years or 20, 30 years if you don't have this information now. And that's not like scaremongering, it's fact. I'm like, I've lived this. I know how this goes. Like your child feels like this. And then in adulthood, it's just going to be like magnified. So I feel like it came from that angle. It also came from the angle of, working around parents and children in other capacities and hearing parents in school say, I really get that my child's playing up at school, but what can I do? And I remember hearing the parents say that one day in the classroom, like, but what can I do? And I was like, like parents actually do want to know how to help their kids. And nobody wants to like feel lost and confused and not have the answers as to like how to help the people that they love the most. So I feel like it came from many different angles. And then this year I was drawn to specifically work with children that were highly sensitive. That was not something that I thought through. It was definitely not a logical strategy in my business of any sort at all. It literally just was like intuitively came to me. It felt like the right next step. My business this year has absolutely just, like, sounds so cliche, but it has just blown up. And that tells me that there are a lot of people out there who want this information. And there are a lot of children that are really struggling, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, in many ways. So,
yeah. And I think, we have, at least over here in the US, I don't know how it is for you in the UK, we have a trend, and I'm not saying that it's like trendy because I've even considered it myself, but we do have homeschooling even is on the rise, because there are so many kids in classrooms at public schools right now. There's 30 to 40 kids in a classroom, and the individualized attention is not always there in most cases. I'm not saying that's the case for every school by any means, but in most cases. And then there's, if your child has any sort of special need, even if it's just a need because they're a little bit behind in reading or math or whatever, that can have a behavioral impact on the child too, can't it?
For sure. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about this topic, even just this question. Do you know, like, and this is just my opinion, like in schools, it's like the teacher has to lead the lesson. So the teachers are under so much pressure. I've worked in that environment, so I've seen, the pressure and the targets that they have to meet. And so if you have 30 children and, 5 of those children don't fit into that cookie cutter thing that teachers are trying to put them into, or schools are trying to put them into, rather, teachers don't really have much of a choice, do they? Because that's their profession. So they have to go along with, the pressure that they get from like their employer as well. But if those 5 children don't fit into that box, all of a sudden, those 5 children are seen as being the one with the problem. And that's where the problem starts, because like those 5 children just have different ways of learning. They might need different things. And then from my perspective, I see so many parents then put the responsibility, or they expect the school to be able to like understand and empathize and meet those needs. But the reality is that they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, and they often don't have the resources. So what I'm saying, and I guess what I provide, is like, this has to start within the family home. So if your children are struggling with something and you have parents who are like, absolutely drained and confused and they don't know how to help their child, well, don't expect the school to be able to have all the answers. And it also goes one step further than that. Don't expect the doctor to have all the answers. Don't expect like the psychologist to have all the answers, because, and I say this because I've worked with parents who have spent a lot of time and money with psychologists and all these different therapists, and the child's no better off. And that's by no means saying that I have all the answers. I'm just saying that I'm really passionate about not putting so much emphasis on these people have got all the answers. And I tell you where that came from. It came from when I was sick in the past. Do you know how many people I assumed would have the answers for how I felt? And my experience was going to the GP, the doctor, and the doctor's pretty much looking at me and saying, we don't know how to help you. And that's a really scary place when you are feeling sick, when somebody actually looks at you like, I don't have the answer. And so I feel like my life path was like, stop relying on other people, like get your stuff together and like read some books, like empower yourself with knowledge. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about like passing knowledge on to parents, coaching them so that they've got something to empower themselves at home. And that's where the shift starts, in the family home.
Yeah. And I know that, because I've known people who've experienced this, where the school wasn't able to provide the resources, the teacher was unable to provide the resources, and the doctors couldn't do a whole lot. And then at one point after some testing and different things, they were finally able to say like, okay, there is a need. There's just, your child can go into these courses within our school system to get the help that they need with, their learning and whatever. But it is frustrating. And what's some advice that you can give to the parents? Because I really feel like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it kind of takes a village. Like the doctor has to work with the mom, who has to work with the dad, who has to work with, the therapist, who has to work with the teacher and the principal and the special ed course and all the things to make it all kind of flow together.
Sure.
But what's the best way to overcome that frustration? Because I'm sure it's a scary time for, a lot of parents too, not knowing.
Sure. Yeah, my biggest advice would be to really, really take charge yourself. So I was working with a parent about, well, I still am working with her, but when we started working together back in, I think, July, she very quickly, all I do is pass information on and coach people. It's never, I'm not making those changes happen in people's lives. I'm coaching them, and the people I coach, they implement that stuff, and they're the ones that are like taking charge of their own life. And this is what this parent did. And she was trying to take her son into a new school, and the school wasn't very open to his needs. And she just very quickly got to a point of like, I've realised that this is what I want for my son. And if this doesn't go this way, then I'm not going to buy into what the teachers are trying to tell me is right for my son. And what happened in that space was that she got empowered. She stopped relying on everybody else's opinion, and she felt like she had enough information, not just from the things that I had taught her, but she also had done a lot of research, and she'd empowered herself basically on the run up to coaching with me as well. And that put her into a place of empowerment. So my biggest tip in that scenario would be, it's very easy to get lost when like everybody's telling you different things. And often I'll have parents come to me, the women will come to me and say, my partner isn't either isn't on board, or he might come to the coaching sessions or he might not, or he's not sure yet whether he wants to do this. And my biggest tip to women is, somebody has to take the lead when the ship's going down. Like, we can't spend all our time like, taking on everyone else's opinion. Somebody has to take the lead, and often I do find it is the woman as in the parenting relationship. In my experience, 98% of the time, it's been the mother that has come to me and said, something needs to change, and can you help me with this? So I feel like, my biggest advice would be to like get some outside help so that you can stop relying and stop like, so it doesn't become like the blind leading the blind, So it's like you actually like, I actually have some clue of what's going on here. And then that puts you into a more empowered space to actually then make choices that you feel are right for your child as well.
Right. And I think we could probably talk about all this kind of stuff all day long.
And I'm so passionate about it. As you can probably tell, I'm like, so important though.
It is. So when you kind of loop back around just a little bit, when you first started out as a parenting coach and going into this business, and really just at the beginning, what kind of obstacles did you face?
Oh, I would say, because now I work 100% online. So all of my clients, in fact, I think I have one client in the UK, and the rest of my clients currently are in like Australia and America. So now I work 100% via Skype and online. But going back, 9-10 years ago, I wasn't doing that. I was, and it's part of the path. I feel like it's part of the journey. I feel like I expended, is that the word? Like, spent a lot of energy in the wrong places maybe, but looking back, it was part of the learning. But I guess disappointments would be things like no, I always knew that I had key information that could help people, and I guess the disappointments would be things like investing too much time and energy into projects that weren't guaranteed to take off. And an example of that might be like, I teamed up with another entrepreneur and we put so much time and effort into planning a project with a charity, and I so believed that we would get this funding and we would be able to do these amazing parenting groups, and it just flopped. And like, it's just things like that. Like, I feel like the lesson there was not to put, what's that saying? Like, not to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, I definitely would put all of my effort into like one project rather than keeping my eye on on everything. So I would just spend too much time on one thing, and that really, I feel like that really super drained me out in many ways as well, which definitely probably impacted like my health back then. But I feel like now the best thing I ever did was go online, like 100% run this online, so that I can also take care of my own needs as well, because I would literally just put everybody else before me and like my work and everything, and then I would just be at the end of the pile, and it just doesn't work. You just can't, when you're trying to coach and care about other people, you really have to put yourself first as well. You just have to.
As a parent, I can say that's probably one of the hardest things to wrap your brain around, of taking care of yourself first, because it's like, I don't know if it's something that we're just trained to do, or if it's just our instinct to put your kids and everything else before yourself. I mean, in every capacity. What do you think the best tip for a working parent, whether it's working in the home, out of the home, or on the home, what is the best tip for making sure that gets done?
Yeah, it has to be a choice, as in, even though your feelings and your instincts and everything you've probably been taught throughout your life tells you that as a parent you drop everything and everyone has to, come before you, and your children come before you. I would say, from the stuff that I now know, is that if you can picture like the family dynamic, like the parents at the top, whether that's one parent, two parents, the parents at the top, and then the children are underneath. And so love and care has to flow organically downwards. And so if you aren't feeling like you're in a space where you're feeling topped up, like you're taking care of your needs, even if it's like taking a 10-minute break or getting up early and spending 10 minutes on your own, or 5 minutes, there has to be something that you're doing, and that has to be a choice to take care of yourself. But a parent said to me recently, she felt like a good way to help retrain her mindset on this topic was to remind herself that when you look after yourself first, that's actually the loving thing to do for your kids. Because when you don't do that, that's when you get into these power struggles with children, and they're asking for your attention and you're really drained out already. And that's when you start then getting into a reactive mode with them, like, you'll get angry with them. And then deep down you're like, oh, you're kicking yourself because you're thinking, I don't want to be like that with my kids. But the only reason that you get into that reactive space is, the only reason any of us get into a reactive space with another human being is because we're just running on the empty ourselves. So it's actually like, if you want to have a loving relationship with your kids, you have to have love to give. And this is something that, I've learned in the last few years, that love is not felt by another person by just hearing the words "I love you." So parents will say, well, of course my children know that I love them because I'm their parent. Like, I've definitely heard parents say that to me. And I'm like, yeah, but your children don't feel loved by you just saying I love you, or maybe in the ways that you think it's translated. I've come to learn that actually we feel loved by when people can accept us and feel like they're the safe space for us. And the only way you're ever going to be a safe space for your child is when you're in a position to be feeling peaceful and calm. And the only way you get to feel peaceful and calm is when you're feeling topped up yourself. So does that make sense? Like, can you see how the self-care piece, in fact, the self-care piece isn't even just about you. Like, the self-care piece is going to impact how your child feels. So it's really about both of you as well.
Yeah. Well, and that makes perfect sense. Like, it's still hard. Like, I'm not even going to lie. It's still hard to make that, a priority and make that happen.
Sure. Like, time-wise. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm self-admittedly not a fan of getting up extra early.
Me neither. No, I'm not either.
But with that being said,
I'm not a morning person at all. I'm more like, I wake up in the evening. Like, the morning I'm just no good for like a few hours, but then I seem to get my energy like later in the day.
I think everything should start at 10 a.m.
Yeah. At least.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So let's dig in a little bit deeper into your business, and some of the things that you really find are a common thread for, like I said, besides just the self-care factor, because I know that that's like one of the biggest things, and I always say, that skipping that step, and I've lived it, I've done it because I thought that I was exempt from this, right? This was like the best advice that I didn't take, was, self-care is like a priority. So if you skip that, then you're on the fast track to burnout. And let me just tell you, now I realize that not taking that time is, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Like, a lot of people are like, well, I can't afford to go get a pedicure every week, and I can't afford a massage at the spa. It doesn't even have to be that. It could be a 5-minute walk across the street or your yard, or walking out and picking tomatoes in your garden. Like, just, something to kind of just give you some fresh air and give you a change of scenery, get you out of your house.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
What is something else that you hear a lot, maybe from female entrepreneurs, like balance, with that balance? I know you and I had talked about, and we had done some work together before about balancing the time, like feeling guilty about, like, well, I'm working and I have a babysitter here, or I'm putting my kids in part-time preschool, or, moms feel so much mom guilt about leaving their kids with anybody else, even if it's to work.
Yeah, and I think it just comes back to the same thing we've just spoken about. So every family is different, but it has to come down to what do you feel like you need to be that parent for your child? So is your business really important to you? Is, having a couple of hours, because I know we've spoken about this before, like, it is having 1 or 2 hours child free really important to you? And is that going to really, having that time and that space on your business, for example, is that going to add to your happiness? Like, when you go and pick your kids up, are you going to be feeling like refreshed and like focused and feeling good? Is it going to add to your happiness? And if it is, then that's what you need to focus on, because I know we've spoken about this before, that time doesn't always equal love. So of course, like, yes, time is one way that we show our loved ones we choose to spend our precious time with those people. And that does translate into love. Like if I spend an hour with you, you know, you feel like I want to be here.
Right.
So yeah, so your children are going to be like, oh, mum wants to be here. But what happens when mum's with your child and she's like not wanting to be there? And kids pick up on this, especially children that are sensitive. If you've got one eye on your phone and you're like, oh, well, I'm with my child, but my head's actually in my business and I'd rather, you know, because I know we spoke about this, like that feeling of I'm here, but you know, like I'd rather be actually working on my laptop. I'd rather be doing something on my business. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to do that. But I'm just saying, like, it might work better. It would probably work best for everybody if you just made a choice to do something about that. So rather than trying to juggle everything and doing what you think is going to please everybody, take your child spending 2 or 3 hours in a nursery, you know, as long as it's a nursery where you feel like they're happy and, you know, their needs are not, they're still getting their needs met as well, then if you're going to feel great after those few hours, you're going to be in a better position to be present for them. And that's actually what they need. They don't always need a heap of time. They don't need a heap of physical presence. They need emotional presence.
Right.
And that's only going to ever come from when you feel like you've got something to give. And if your head's in your business and you're feeling like you're begrudging your child because you're like, oh, I'd rather be doing this, but I've got to be here. I feel like I should be here with my child. That's just, can you just see how like that just wouldn't work for anybody's happiness?
Yeah. It makes so much sense. And sometimes I think we just need the reminder that, that love isn't measured in minutes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I can give an example of that. Like, how many times, you know, whether it's your childhood or with your partner or friend or whoever, you could have spent the whole day with somebody, and like by the end of the day, how many times have you had the experience where you've just felt really drained out, or you just knew that that person didn't really want to be there? Or how many times have you sat in a party or a room with like 15 people and still felt really disconnected and really alone? Because I know I've definitely experienced that. So because we know that, we can't say that time and physical presence equals feeling connected and loved. It just doesn't.
No, and so, and like we've talked about this before, that, and this is true, I've found this to be true, that, and I've started like batching my work together so that all the other times I don't have to think about the work, because even though I might not be like doodling on my phone or on my laptop or whatever, those thoughts will still like roll in like, crap, I need to do this. I need to do that.
Exactly.
I need to do this.
And it can feel never ending, can't it? As an entrepreneur, like there's always something that you're like, oh, but I could be doing this. There's always something that you could be doing.
Right. I totally agree. And so when you're able to, you know, say batch out, like, okay, maybe your child goes to school during the day, or maybe they go, or maybe you have a babysitter come for, you know, a couple hours, a couple days a week. That's okay.
Yes, exactly.
Because, and the reason I look at it is like, because my son loves going to school. He's in
bless him.
He's in pre-K right now, and he only goes part-time because it's a private school and pre-K is not required. So I let him go part-time because he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves going and playing. And it's educational. So I look at it almost like, all right, this kid gets to go do something he's having a ton of fun with, and it's educational. So it's like an educational play date, and just shifting it in that way really shifted my feelings about it. And then I'm able to sit and focus on whatever it is, whether that's self-care, whether that's getting a bunch of work, batched together during that time and sitting down and focusing on it. and getting that just kind of done and over with. So that way, when I pick him up from school, all we have to go do is whatever we want. And I don't have to think about that to-do list kind of lingering and almost like haunting me. So I feel like once you're able to come to terms with giving yourself permission, that it makes it a lot different.
Yeah, and the only reason someone would my words out, the only reason we would feel like we don't have permission would be because of messages we've had from our own parents, messages we get from society. And so then we end up in this like pit of shoulds, like I should be doing this. This is what I feel like other people expect of me. And we lose our own identity, and what was right for our parents might not be right for us. Like we grew up, I think we've spoken about this before, like we grew up in different times. Like as women, we have different opportunities than maybe that our own parents, well, definitely than our own parents had. Even the fact that we're, working online and, female entrepreneur, like we just have different options, and there's no right or wrong. It's just, I feel like we have to unplug from the messages that we've received from our own parents and families and past generations and stuff we might hear from other people. Because also I know many people that are female entrepreneurs, I've definitely heard this, where they go to pick up their children from school and sometimes they feel judged by other mums who don't work, who are like super available all the time to do all of the things like with school and everything. And I've definitely heard parents say like, oh, because they've made a choice to, and it's not even just female entrepreneurs, it's females who have some kind of career where they're also out of the home a lot. There's no right or wrong, is there? It's a personal choice for whatever works for your family. But I just feel like we need to unplug from these shoulds, because there is no should. It's just what works for you and your children.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is going to be different, like every different kid or child needs different, I don't even know what the right word is. They just need different interaction.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
I would say currently on Instagram. I'm having such a ball on Instagram right now. That is like definitely where I am most present. I'm more than happy for you to, well, first of all, you can follow me on Instagram at Supporting Sensitive Children. And then I'm more than happy for you to, or for anybody listening, to drop me a message there. I pretty much treat that as like email now. So I'm pretty either myself or somebody within my team would be there to pick up a message and pass it on to me. So yeah, I'd say that's the best place to follow me and pick up tips. I'm just that's where I'm at. I'm there quite a lot.
Perfect. Well, I encourage each and every one of you guys to hop over to Instagram, take a look, give her a follow, give her some love. Definitely follow along with her content. She's always got new stuff coming out, and she is loaded with great advice. And I know that just when I speak with you, I always feel so empowered and so ready to take the necessary steps to grow myself, not even just grow my business, but to grow myself and maintain a really good relationship with my kids, because that ultimately, is number one priority. But letting myself adjust to the idea of having permission to do things for myself once in a while too.
Exactly. you've got the permission slip. I'll send it over to you. I think you already know you've got it, but yes.
Awesome.
Sometimes we just need to hear that from someone else, don't we? We all need that. Sometimes
like
we know the answer. Yeah.
Yes, I agree so much. Well, Jen, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
You're welcome.
I always love speaking with you. And you guys be sure definitely to hop over to Instagram and give her some love. Thank you so much.
Oh, speak soon. Bye, Amie.